Okay, hope you are able to see the screen now. Okay, listen carefully. Amal Raj, please turn on your camera, Amal Raj. Okay, so a reservation of constituencies. A reservation of constituencies. We have noticed that in the FPTP election system, the candidate who secured the highest votes in a particular constituency is declared elected. This often works to the disadvantage of the smaller social groups. Okay, so for example, first past the post system. In that system, only the majority communities, if it is a religion or a political party or a caste group, they will get some preferences, some privileges are there. Okay, so they can score high number of votes. Okay, clear or not? So they will get elected. They will get high chances are there, more chances are there for them to become the winner from that particular constituency. So it is not that appreciable, it is not that good for other weaker sections of the people in the society, weaker sections of the people in the society. Clear? Yes or no? It's not good. Okay, so the government decided to create separate constituency. Shubhampal, please check your timetable, Shubhampal. Okay, separate constituencies for this minorities or deprived classes or economically or socially backward classes. So just to understand that. So these reserved constituencies are helpful for them to participate in the decision making. Participate in the decision making. Clear? That's it. This is even more significant in the Indian social context. We have had a history of caste-based discrimination. So we know that in India, comparing with other countries, we are facing a problem. What is that? Caste-based discrimination. Caste-based discrimination. There are numerous castes are there. Untouchabilities exist in the society. Okay. So it is the responsibility of a democratical government to solve such issues with this reserved constituencies. In such a social system, the FPTP electoral system can mean that dominant social group and caste can win everywhere and the oppressed social groups may continue to remain unrepresented. So if there is no reserved constituencies, the people from some constituencies, people from the minorities or deprived classes or economically or socially backward classes, they will not get any representation in the government. Clear? There is no representation for them. So what the government decided, or as per the constitution, we can say that reserved constituencies is helpful for the minorities or economically or socially backward people to show their presence in the legislature. Their presence in the legislature. That is the importance of reserved constituencies. Okay, so we know that almost all the societies today, we can say it is a male-oriented societies. Male-oriented society. So participation of women in or females in this contest in electoral politics is low or less. Low or less. Okay, so there are constituencies are there for only the female candidates, women candidates, right or not? Clear? So reserved constituencies for women, general women, SC women and ST1. Okay, so our constitution makers were aware of this difficulty and the need to provide a way to ensure fair and just representation to the oppressed social groups. So if there is no reserved seats, it is difficult for the unprivileged classes to participate.
Sir, it is not clear.
Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir, it is not clear.
Who is this? Shubhampal.
Shubham.
Shubhampal, I told
Yes,
you
sir.
to check your timetable and enter in the correct class. Shubham,
Yes,
this
sir.
is political science class. You check your timetable. Okay, come back. So that's it. So the constitution makers, they know that's a problem. So they created constituencies for the economically or socially backward groups or for women. Okay. So our constitution makers were aware of this difficulty and then needed to provide a way to ensure fair and just representation to the oppressed social groups. This issue was debated even before independence, and the British government had introduced separate electorates. So this problem already introduced by the different political parties. Basically, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar is the person behind this particular program. Okay, he is the one who took this matter in front of the British government. So finally, they accepted this idea, separate electorates. Okay, so we can see here, separate electorates have been a curse to India, have done incalculable harm to this country. Separate electorate have barred our progress. We Muslims want to merge in the nation. For God's sake, keep your hands off reservation of the Muslim community. So it's a statement made by Tajamul Hussain. See, he says that religious-based constituencies are not needed. If it is so, it will divide the people into two categories. Okay, so we know that in our country there is no constituencies on the basis of religion. That is another thing. Okay, so the constitution makers created the reserved seats for the scheduled caste and tribes and women. For electing the representatives from the particular community, only those voters would be eligible who belong to that community in that constituent assembly. Many members expressed the fear there basically. Okay, so in the first phase, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, again repeating, Shubhampal. Okay, so in the first phase, the International Congress and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Okay. B.R. Ambedkar, he is the supporter of the separate constitution for the Dalits. But Gandhiji is reacted badly against that. So as per the concept of B.R. Ambedkar, the reserved constituencies, the candidates also from that reserved community, and only that particular community wanted to vote for that candidate, it seems. That's what the concept of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. But Gandhiji is strongly opposed to that. Okay, finally, in Pune Pact, okay, the agreement between Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and Gandhiji related with this reserved constituencies. Finally, Gandhi told that, okay, reserved constituencies is a good idea, okay, fine. Only the representative classes, they will get a chances to participate in the election or participate in the decision making. But not only that particular caste, everyone want to provide their consent, their vote for that people. That's what the idea of Gandhi. Finally, they accepted it. So many members expressed the fear that this will not suit our purpose. Therefore, it was decided to adopt the system reserved constituencies. In the system, all voters in a constituency are eligible to vote, but the candidates must belong to only a particular community. Underline that. Or social section for which the seat is reserved. Underline. Okay, that's what we are following today. There are certain social groups which may be spread across the country in a particular constituency. Their numbers may not be sufficient to be able to influence the victory of a candidate. However, taken across the country, they are significantly sizable group. To ensure their proper representation, a system of reservation becomes necessary. The Constitution provides for reservation of seats in the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. This provision was made initially for the period of 10 years, and as a result of successive constitutional amendments has been extended up to 2020. So, in 1949, these reserved constituencies are basically meant for just 10 years. But later, different governments that made changes in the constitution, and till today in 2020 also, we are following the same method. Reserved constituencies are for SCs and STs. The parliament can take a decision or further extend it, When the period of reservation expires, the number of seats reserved for both these groups in the proportion to their share in the population of India. Of the 543 elected seats in the Lok Sabha, 84 are reserved for scheduled caste and 47 seats are reserved for the scheduled tribe as on 1st September 2012. So this is the data. I want to understand it. Okay. As on 1st December 2012, out of these 543 seats, 84 reserved seats are there for the scheduled caste and 47 reserved seats are for the scheduled tribes. Okay, so just to remember these data. Next one. Who decides which constituency to be reserved? So, the question is, which authority will decide the reserved constituencies? On what basis it is to be, what basis is this decision taken? This decision is taken by an independent body called the Delimitation Commission. Underline that. Delimitation Commission. So, this Delimitation Commission, the commission who has the power to take steps to create reserved constituencies. Okay. Is appointed by the President of India. This commission is appointed by the President of India and works in collaboration with the Election Commission of India. So the Delimitation Commission, the work along with the Election Commission of India, it is appointed for the purpose of drawing up the boundaries of constituencies all over the country. So Election Commission is the authority. With the help of this Delimitation Commission, they will create the constituencies all over the country. They will divide the geographical area related with the various aspects. The main concept is the population. The main concept is the population. Clear? So Election Commission is the statutory body, the major organ or organization in our country to create constituencies and control the elections. Clear? The Election Commission of India. And yesterday I asked a question to you people to find out the present Chief Election Commission of India and the Election Commission of Kerala. No answer so far. Let it be. So find it out. It is appointed for the purpose of drawing up the boundaries of the constituencies all over the country. A quota of constituencies to be reserved in each state is fixed depending on the proportion of SCs and STs in the state. So the Election Commission will fix a number of reserved seats for SCs and STs as per their proportion in different states. After drawing the boundaries, the Delimitation Commission looks at the composition of population in each constituencies. So, write down the function of the Election Commission and Delimitation Commission. Okay. The constituency that has the highest proportion of the scheduled tribe population and reserved for ST. In the case of scheduled caste, the Delimitation Commission look at two things. It picks constituencies that have higher proportion of scheduled caste population, but it also spread these constituencies in different regions of the state. This is done because the scheduled caste population is generally spread evenly throughout the country. The reserved constituencies can be rotated each time the delimitation exercise is undertaken. So for STs they will fix as per the concentration of the ST community in one particular locality, but ST community is almost spread in almost all the parts of the state or the country. So in different election period they will create different constituencies for STs there. So okay, the constitution does not make similar reservation for other disadvantaged groups. Of late, there has been a strong demand seeking reservation of seats in Lok Sabha and state assemblies for women. Okay, in the first sense we know that the reservation made by the constitution only for SCs and STs, but later a strong demand for the special constituencies for women. Okay, so given the fact that very few women are elected to the representative bodies, the demand for reserving 1/3 seats for women is increasingly being articulated. So, we know that it's a male-dominated society. The participation of women in the political arena or the political field is too less. Okay, so there is a demand for higher participation of women in the electoral politics. Okay, so the constitution made a rule. What is that? 1/3 seats for women should be reserved. So reservation of seats for women has been provided for in rural and urban local bodies. We shall discuss this in the chapter on local governments later. A similar provision for Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha would require an amendment to the constitution. Such an amendment has been proposed several times in the parliament but has not yet been passed. So 33% of reservation for females. Okay, that's the demand by the feminist groups. Okay, so number of times the government has tried to do that, but still it is staying as a bill not passed by the parliament, But if you are observing the last local self-government election in Kerala, easily we are able to understand the participation of women that is increased in India. I mean, not in India, in Kerala, right? Number of candidates from the women community, or the female folks they are. Clear? So what we learned now? Reservation seats. Okay. First question, write down what is this reservation? What is reservation? And why the reservation? Why reservation? What kind of reservation? Reservation of constituencies in the elections. Reservation of constituencies in the election. So important question it is. Okay. So what are the commission that linked with, write the commission that linked with drawing or creating the constituencies for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Okay. So listen kids, we know that we are following an electoral system. It is called to be first past the post. Okay. So it is important to give adequate representation for all the different communities of our country. Okay. So these economically or socially backward people, they are less in number. So if you are following this first past the post system, the representation of these scheduled castes and tribes, it is go to a minimum number. Clear? They will not get chances. Clear? So the government or the constitution makers in 1946 to 49, they wrote or they created number of provisions for these reserved seats in the constitution. Reserved seats in the constitution. As per that, a commission is called to be the Delimitation Commission, appointed by the government to find out the number of these scheduled caste and tribe people in different localities. And they are functioning along with the election commission and created such kind of constituencies where these people from the scheduled caste and tribe can participate in the election and everyone can vote for them. Clear? Is that clear? So that's what a reservation for we people. Okay. So just understand this thing. It's a 3 to 5 mark question. Okay. Reservation in Indian politics or reservation of constituencies related with the first past the post system in India. Okay. Next we are moving towards free and fair elections. The true test of any election system is its ability to ensure a free and fair electoral process. If you want democracy to be translated into reality on the ground, it is important that the election system is impartial and transparent. Clear? So, should not create any opportunity for any political group, any political party or social group to hijack the government or control the government as its own. Okay. So, provisions are necessary to control the people with money power and muscle power. Clear? if giving chances to any particular political parties to control the government or a particular group of people to control the government, such kind of control will lead to numerous problems in the society. These groups will act as a majority group and will always try to dominate over the minority. Okay, so in the constitution, provisions are there for free and fair election. Free and fair election. It is the responsibility of the government, constitution, and the election commission to conduct the election in a free and fair way without giving any importance for any particular political party, any preferences for any particular social group. Okay, so for the constitution and for the government, all the political parties are same related with elections. Clear? So free and fair elections are necessary. People always want to enjoy the right to vote, the political right. The most important part of the political activity is called to be the right to vote, a political right. So people want to enjoy their right to vote without any pressure, right or not? So some people are there, maybe in movies we might observe that. What is that? Election time. Some gundas or mafias, they will come in number of the Scorpio cars or Tata Sumo cars, and they will use weapons. Okay, and they will threaten the people to keep their vote for one particular candidate. Clear? Such kind of dramatic scenes we observed there. But in real life, is that possible? What is your answer? They're possible in real life? Okay, it is possible. It's possible, but not a state like Kerala. Right? Here we are unable to observe such kind of activities there. But are there? If we are going to the northern districts of Kerala, in number of elections we are able to find the news of booth capturing. Political parties will control the booths at the time of election, and they will threaten the candidate. Threaten the voters to vote for one particular candidate. Are there? Happened also. We cannot say that Kerala is free from such kind of things there. Are there? In our state also we are able to find such kind of things there. Clear? So, such kind of activities are not preferable, and it is not good for a smooth functioning of democracy or political activity in the country. So, we need free and fair election. Next, the people with the money power, they are able to purchase votes from the people, it seems there. Clear? So, we are able to read news related with the elections. What are the news? So and so political party leader was caught by the police with crores of rupees. Enquiry, they find that okay, this money is kept for distributing to the people in relation with purchase their vote or get their votes there. Number of political parties will provide number of gifts, different gifts, liquor, food items. Okay, only for votes there. So such kind of activities are not good in what you can say, the electoral politics. So it is necessary, we need a free and fair election. The true test of any election system is its ability to ensure a free and fair electoral process. If you want democracy to be translated into reality on the ground, it is important that the election system is impartial and transparent. The system of election must also allow the aspiration of the voter to find legitimate expression through the electoral result. Okay. So each vote should be valued properly. So each voter want to give his consent without any threat or any pressure. Clear? So that we know that one particular activity we are following, basically termed as the universal franchise and the right to contest in elections. Clear? Apart from laying down a method of elections, the Constitution answers two basic questions about elections. Okay, who are the voters? Who can contest elections? This is an important part. Who are the voters and who can contest in the election? In both these respects, our Constitution follows the well-established democratic practices. You already know that democratic elections require that all adult citizens of the country must be eligible to vote in the election. This is known as universal adult franchise. Underline that. All adult citizens of the country must be eligible to vote in the election. This is known as universal adult franchise. In many countries, citizens had to fight long battles with the rulers to get this right. So different countries. From the time of the French Revolution onwards, we can say that the people they fought for the right to vote. Women could get this right very late and only after struggle. In many countries, women they got the right to vote after a long struggle against the governments or the rulers. One of the important decisions of the framers of the Indian Constitution was to guarantee every adult citizen in India the right to vote. Controversies also are related with this, the right to vote. Till 1989, an adult Indian meant an Indian citizen above the age of 21. Clear? Up to 1989. Okay, but after 1989, the government made a change. The amendment to the constitution in 1989 reduced the eligibility age to 18. So the right to vote, the age to get the right to vote is reduced to 21 to 18 in the year 1989. Adult franchise ensured that all citizens are able to participate in the process of selecting their representative. This is consistent with the principle of equality of non-discrimination that we studied in the chapter on rights. So everyone, irrespective of class, creed, sex, have the right to vote. All are equal. Those who completed the age of 18 in India today, they are exercising the right to vote. Many people thought and many think so today that giving the right to vote to everyone irrespective to educational qualification was not right. Okay, tell me, what is your answer? Is that good to give a right to vote for everyone in this country? Tell me, what is your answer? Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me? So right to vote for everyone, is that good or not? Right to vote we are giving only on the basis of their age, not related with the educational qualification. Clear or not? Those who completed the age of 18 have the right to vote. Their intellectual thinking or their education, their quality to understand the political situation, that is not measuring here. That are not the part of giving chances for a person or give the right to vote for a person. Clear? So what is your answer? So the people, those who complete the age of 60, is that good to give right to vote for them? Yes, Amala says yes. What is Elvina Joy's answer? No person, those who complete the age of 104, is that good to give the right to vote for that person? His consent or will make any changes in the country's governance? Yes or no? He is able to accept anything from the government? So, if you are thinking democratically, we know that all individuals are equal, right or not? Right or not? That's what equality, irrespective of their class, creed, gender, sex, or age, whatever it is, all are equal. So, it is important for a country like India to give a right to vote for everyone there. But some critics will say that the people, those who complete the age of 70 and 80, whatever may be the government, there is no problem for them because they are not struggling for get a job. They are not riding vehicles on the road. Clear or not? Only the problem for the youngsters, the educated, the people, those who learning, the people, those who going for working. Okay, the productive population have all the problem. So right to vote will be limited for only for the working population. Seems some controversial comment it is. Okay, are you agreeing with that or not? Right to vote for only for the working population means the people between the age group of 18 to 60. Are you agreeing with that or not? No. No. Sorry, Amala told her. No. What is Elvina's answer? Are you agreeing with that or not?
No.
Not at all. Okay. So, you people basically thinking about, okay, just to keep these things in your mind. There's such kind of controversies also are there. Okay, next one. But our constitution makers had a firm belief in the ability and worth of all adult citizens as equal in the matter of deciding what is good for the society, the country, and for their own constituency. So the constitution makers of India believed that everyone in the country has the ability to choose their own government. Okay, so what is true of the right to vote is also true of right to contest election. All citizens have the right to stand for election and to become the representatives of the people. So, as almost like the right to vote, all citizens have the right to participate in the election as a candidate also. However, there are different minimum age requirements for a contesting election. For example, in order to stand for Lok Sabha election, Lok Sabha or Assembly election, a candidate must be at least 25 years of old. Okay, for as a candidate, for standing as a candidate for the MP or MLA, the candidate should cross the age of 25. Okay. There are some other restrictions also. The same time, for local self-government, 21 is enough. Clear? 21 is enough. There are some other restrictions also. For instance, there is a legal provision that a person who has undergone imprisonment for 2 or more years for some offence is disqualified from contesting election. A person who is an inmate of a jail for more than 2 years, he or she is not eligible to participate in the election as a candidate. Clear? Just keep that idea. First of all, want to complete the age of 25. Next, should not stay as inmate in a jail. Okay, such kind of things are there, means that person will disqualify. But there are no restrictions of income, education, or class or gender on the right to contest election. In this sense, our system of election is open to all citizens. So, Indian system of election, we can say it is open to all citizens. Clear? Clear or not? Okay. So, winding up, I'm going to close the class now, and we will meet in or meet by 3:15. 3:15. Okay. Join back by 3:15. Okay, everyone. Thank you very much.